We're moving into content evolution, changing content for a changing world. And our panelists are Brandon Pankey from Live Nation Urban, Julie Mango, influencer, Nolan Baines from 300 is our host, Rachel Jackson from YouTube, and Brittany Johnson from Meta. Because you know everybody is here. If there's someone in music from across the world, they're where? Here. And who brought them? IMC. Who brought them? Somebody let them say, I am you. Wait, let me hear something funny. Who brought them? I love it. Who is for the development of the music? Say it loud. Say it proud. I like it. You're working with me. I have a prize. You know, say, see, oh, you know. I like it. I like it. So can I have my content evolution panel out, please? Mr. Nolan Baines is our host. He is from 300 Studios.
Yeah.
We also have Brittany Johnson, Rachel Jackson, Julie Mango, and Brandon Pankey.
Hello, hello, hello.
Mic check. I always wanted to do this. Mr. All over. Mic check. Is everyone here? Everyone is cool?
Check. All right.
We're not missing anybody, right?
Live.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here for our panel. It's been an incredible, 3 days? 3 days of panels. And I think this panel is going to be more like you're hanging out with your brethren and your sister and them, and we talk in business, right? Like we're going to make it very cool and interactive. One of the things that we kept hearing, I think, as we look at these panels and we take part in these panels, is this notion of things are changing really, really fast in the business, right? Like when you get a hold of one thing, you're like, okay, I got that. And then you look up and there's like 5 other things you got to learn, right? So the evolution of content is really interesting because it implies that the music that you're doing is content and somehow it's changing, right? And what that means is now the definition of content is completely broad and it's absolutely crazy. And so what we want to do is we want to sort of level set and really start this out by discussing first with the panel before I have you guys introduce yourselves and talk about your crazy resumes and all of that. We want to level set and start with the fact that what we are doing here at IMC is really storytelling, right? Does that make sense? It's all of this is storytelling, right? You make a record, you write lyrics, it's storytelling. You're just recording it in a different format, right? It's audio storytelling. And as you all know, you have phones, you have social media accounts. That's storytelling. Every time you post a picture on Instagram, every time Miss Julie does a skit, that's storytelling, right? And the fact that we're telling stories, the power is not in the motion of telling the stories. The fact is what we are conveying in the stories, right? So if we want people to love our music and love us and want to support us, we got to tell these stories the right way, and we have to use every single medium available to us to tell these stories. All right? So that's the level set. We're going to talk about the stories. But before we get into all of that and how this should work and how it should flow, I want to introduce these amazing people. By the way, they all look fashionable. Look at them. All right, so we're going to start here first with Miss Brittany. No, well, oh yeah, I should do that. Yeah. All right. So my name is Nolan Baines, and I am your host today. I'm from a company called 300. 300 is a cool record company that we have Mary J. Blige and Megan Thee Stallion and rappers like Gunna and Young Thug and all of that. And a couple years ago, they decided that they wanted to expand the storytelling capabilities of the record company. And we decided to launch a film and TV division. And what that means is that now we can service an artist from you record your record, we help you promote your record, we help to make you into a star, but now you're evolving as an artist and you want to tell more stories, you want to write books, you want to do a documentary, you want to, we are set up to kind of help those artists tell those stories. And we're not just telling music stories, we're telling cultural stories, right? So our first project just got nominated for NAACP award, and thank you. And it was a docuseries on Netflix about a black NASCAR race car driver. Had nothing to do with music, but it had to do with the culture, and so we felt like it made sense to tell that story. So anyway, so I'm here today. I've been in music for a long time, worked at labels, worked at MTV for 13 years, ran marketing for Music Choice and all that stuff. But all of my experiences led me to storytelling and being a general manager of a production company, and hence why I'm here. All right, so let's start with Britt.
Hi, everyone.
You got to turn it on.
Testing, 1, 2. Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Johnson. I am a creative strategist at Meta. So Meta is the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, all of those formats. And on the side, I am a speaker, so I'm a TEDx speaker. I've also do content creation, and my background is in creative advertising. So I've been at Meta for 5 years now, and very excited to come to events like this where we get to connect with the culture and give back to the community and really share the knowledge that only certain advertisers get access to. So very excited to be here and excited for this conversation.
Give it up.
More commotion for Brittany, please. Hey, y'all. I see some familiar faces from yesterday and the day before. I am Rachel Jackson. I'm also known as Rachie, so when you see me, just say, hey, Rachie, I'm gonna speak back. I am an artist partnerships manager at YouTube and YouTube Music. I've been there for 3 days, and in my daily life at work, I have the pleasure of working with artists at every step of their career, and I translate their creativity to content, and I also make sure that their releases musically are promoted.
Awesome.
Give it up. Rachel is very shy, as you can tell. Miss Julie?
Hi, everybody. My name is Juliet Bodley, more popularly known as Julie Mango. And I create...
Yeah, give it to her. Give it to her.
I love you guys so much. I create skits on social media. My background is in engineering, very funnily, but I've always done the performing arts from Me Idea Mini. I've been into drama and performing and giving jokes. And so that's what I do now. I create content full time, and I am also a mental health advocate. And, I'm really happy to be here and to talk about content evolution and to just share my knowledge. It's really fun just meeting everyone in person. I know you see me behind the camera and on the phone and stuff like that, but the best part of it is actually meeting people and they're coming up to me and telling me parts of my skits and stuff, and I'm laughing and I'm like, yeah, I did kind of do that. So, I'm really happy to be here, and, I'm looking forward to imparting the knowledge, and anything that you ask, I'm just looking forward to having a good session with everyone here.
Last but not least, you should have went last. You got the biggest reaction. No, my name is Brandon Payne. Before that, I would just give it up for Miss Sharon and for the Island Music Conference for bringing us here.
Indeed.
Also, shout out to Worthy Park and their great rums. Incredible. But my name is Brandon Pankey. I run business development and operations for Live Nation Urban. We produce festivals, events, tours across North America. So the Roots, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that band. They have a festival.
Hell yeah.
Okay. The Roots Picnic in Philadelphia. The artist Her has a festival that I produce. Lil Wayne's festival in New Orleans. I'm missing like 3 or 4. Oh, Kirk Franklin's festival, Exodus, and a few others that I produce. Outside of that, I'm launching at the end of the month a streaming platform for artists. Think Netflix or Hulu for musicians, called Apex, artist-presented experiences. So scripted, unscripted, documentaries. It would live here. So if Nolan has ideas from 300 Studios, see, I'm gonna put it out there publicly. We can do that and let it live on Apex. But super excited to speak to everyone, and hopefully we share some good knowledge. So thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Give it up
That's
for
amazing.
all the panelists. All right, so we're gonna jump into it, right? So the first thing I want to do again is reiterate this point about storytelling, right? So why is it important to tell stories, right? Why is it important for us to position our stories? And I'm trying to make sure that all the young artists and managers in the room, it's hard to see, understand this point. And so we're gonna drive it home throughout this panel. How many artists are in the room right now? Okay, that's a good amount. What about managers? PR folks? Good.
That's Chevelle and Nadine, and they never put out.
Producers? Wow. And I'm assuming some of you are multifaceted, correct? Right. All right, so good. So so let's start with this notion of storytelling, right? Storytelling is designed to sort of provide this narrative about who we are, right? Why we exist, why this music is so incredible and infectious, right? And so once we tell that story musically without the context of the story, it's kind of hard to fall in love with you as artists, right? I don't know what you're about. I'm hearing a good song, I could dance to it, it's great, but I don't know you, and you want me to fall in love with you as a consumer, right? So the first part of the storytelling we're gonna kind of focus on is the music, right? So I have various expertise here. I wanna start with Brandon first. Brandon, you're telling stories live, right? Talk to us about that process of when you're curating it, right? You're curating this lineup. What type of artists are you looking for? Why? And how does the storytelling that they do contribute to your decision to book them?
So it really depends on the festivals that we're creating. You know, we look at what we're looking for. So I'll give you an example. Like Lil Wayne's festival is strictly hip hop, you know, for the most part. So we're looking for young, you know, hip hop artists specifically for that festival. But hers festival is R&B, and it's young R&B, emerging R&B, you know, sometimes sprinkled in with Erykah Badu or, you know, another artist. And so it's important to really align with, we do a lot of artist curated festivals, so we align with the artists, their vision, their needs, to create an amazing and compelling festival around what they want. However, you know, we have to reach out to the 300s of the world. We're reaching out to YouTube for metrics on certain artists, you know, and Meta as well, actually, to be honest. You know, we're reaching out, you know, trying to figure out who are those artists, who are the emerging artists that we can put on to make sure that if they are, you know, if you ever see that festival flyer, you see the artists all the way at the bottom, you know, year 2, year 3, they're moving up, you know, across different festivals that we're creating. And Live Nation is a behemoth. So, you know, now if we have this artist on one festival and they do great, we can then apply them to other festivals around the world. So, you know, if you are a great artist and you're telling a great story, it's easier for us to include you because you're probably doing better numbers and you're probably creating, resonating more with a live audience. Because here's the other trick, and I don't want to speak too long. The streaming numbers sometimes don't match your live numbers. So, you know, you may have a lot of streaming, you know, large streaming audience on a Spotify or an Apple or Tidal, but that doesn't resonate to your live audience. You have to really connect with an audience so that you can, you know, for a Live Nation or another large promoter or even independent promoters here, you know, that they want to have you on their show. So it's very important that you create great stories so that you can be on the stage performing for your fans and future fans.
Right. Give it up. So what Brandon is talking about is literally being able to pull an audience, right? This whole conference, every panel really was about how do you build how do you build audience? So we're no longer the record business, right? We're not record companies, right? We're just not broadcast. We are content companies, right? And the content companies are fueled by storytellers. Brandon just attests to if you tell a great story and you attract an amazing audience, makes it easier for him to book you. All right, so let's talk about short form content. Everybody has these phones, everybody have accounts. Some of you have 200 followers, some of you have 2,000 followers. The bottom line is you have people paying attention to your story, whether it's 200 or 2,000, right? So, Miss Julie, talk to us about that transition for you going from corporate and all this big fancy job to like really focusing on what you're doing on the social media side and building an audience there.
You know, says a cubicle me used to work in, so it wasn't that fancy, but it was a good little pay still, engineer and them things, kind of hype. But anyhow, I mean, how I made the transition from corporate to just creating content full time, you know, it kind of forced me because creating content or drama, the performing arts is literally who I am. I've been doing that since I was a little girl and it runs in my family. Storytelling runs in my family. My uncles all do it. My grandmother, she does it. Every birthday celebration that we have for her, she's telling stories about all her kids and how she used to whop them and, you know, them stuff there. But yes, so making the transition for me was kind of a coming into myself. And so what really happened is that at the beginning of COVID, I put up my first video. It was how Jamaicans do praise and worship versus other people. I was told I'm not to say Americans because it's not kind. And so that video went viral, and I realized that I got a bigger following. And so I just kept on producing more content, and then it became hard to balance both, to have a 9 to 5 and to do the content creation. When I saw the brand deals coming in, I said, okay, maybe I can take a leap of faith. And, you know, I prayed about it. Some of you know I'm a woman of God. I pray about things, cost more time, I need guidance, and them something there. And so I prayed about it, and eventually I resigned and just made the leap, you know, the switch. And I resigned November 27th, 2021, and I literally have no regrets. Yeah.
So, but tell us a little bit more about this medium that you have become an expert in, right? Like short form content, you do it well. Explain that to us.
So I mostly put content on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And what I've learned is that it's different from television and it's different from YouTube. So persons respond to that snap content. But I don't really do trends. So like when you have the little dance, it's like, boom, I can't do that. I'm too old. Well, I joke, I'm not too old. But it's just not my thing. So what I did, I took what I had and I put it in a form that people can, it still gives you that snap effect. So like when my mom would say to me, go and take up your book, you know, I give that at the ending, give that snap effect. Make everything within 1 minute or a minute and a half at most. Because on those platforms, each platform is different and each audience is different. And so you have to study Instagram. TikTok is some things that will work on TikTok won't work on Instagram, and some things that will work on Instagram won't work on Facebook. Not to mention Twitter. Twitter is the lion's den. So I don't put everything over there. Yeah, man, they will drag you on Twitter, right? So I have to be careful what I put on each platform. And I mean, I hope I'm asking the question a lot because I can talk all day.
No, you're doing amazing.
If there's something specific you want me to address, I can address
No,
it.
you're addressing it right now.
Right. Yes.
And scene, right? So Julie, let me say, that point is a fair point about how every format is different, every platform is different, right? So lucky for us, we have people from those other platforms, right? So YouTube, for example, we had a big YouTube day, and Tuma and his team did a great job of like running us through the platform and how it works. And that's a cheap, easy, free platform that every artist has access to, right? So if you're telling stories and you do it on your phone and you want to tell maybe a little bit more contextual story about who you are, maybe you want to give me a little bit of insight into your recording process, or you know, you're writing with your team, or you're talking to your producer, or you're rehearsing or whatever, we all know that YouTube is a perfect platform for that. So Rachel, can you tell us a little bit more about, once we're doing that, right? Like we're putting stuff up on YouTube. How do we get to your attention where you're like, yo, I need you to come in and do this big program? Like how does that work since you're booking talent for YouTube?
To be honest, it really starts small. I really adore the innovation on our platform that is YouTube Shorts. It takes the pressure off of having to post 5-minute, 3-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute videos, and it allows for search and discovery. So when you ask, how do we figure out what artists to work with, it works in 2 ways. One, when you're signed to a label, we have a label program pipeline. So we are partnered with labels. We work with their priorities as well as artists on their roster that we just find interesting. And then on my team specifically, we just go with what we love. We follow our heart, and we also follow what's happening on the platform. And like Brandon was saying, it's very important that you take your storytelling not too seriously, because we don't want you to overthink it, but just make sure that you're sharing more of yourself. Because a lot of people don't really think of it this way, but Google is the #1 search engine in the world. YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world. So you want to make sure that you're showing up and showing out there. So when you build a fan base and they Google you or look for you, they'll have some sort of visual reference.
That's great. So before I sort of pitch to you, one of the things that you're hearing is audience, right? All this stuff, everything that you're doing, making music, releasing music, is all really about you getting a larger audience, convincing a larger amount of people that you are worthwhile, right? That you want them to consume your music and become loyal followers of you. And so one of the things that I think we don't talk about a lot is the business need when we're talking about these platforms, right? How do we justify ourselves to these platforms where they would want to embrace us, right? So we go from telling a great story, we're getting booked on shows, we're doing great there, right? Then we start telling our own stories on our platforms, like Julie is doing, right? It's doing good, we're getting numbers are going up, and then suddenly YouTube is paying attention, we've populated across YouTube. But what's missing is now we want to get into brand deals, right? We want to be able to make more money from what we are doing. And then we would buck up on somebody like you, right? You have an agency background, you're working with brands that is looking for storytellers, right? That want to align their brands with artists and music and all of that. What is typically your experience when it comes to doing this sort of thing for Meta?
Yeah, so I just want to ground us in the fact of like storytelling is how you build an emotional connection with your audience, right?
Can you say that again?
Storytelling is how you build an emotional connection with your audience. So when you're storytelling, first of all, you want to understand what is your goal. Are you trying to drive sales? Are you trying to drive people to your website? Are you trying to build overall awareness? Once you understand your goal, then you can come up with a strategy that makes sense for that goal and understand how to tell that story and use all the different platforms, right? Because I'm not here to preach like only use Instagram. You should use all of the platforms to your advantage, and really understand like what story you're trying to tell, what community you're trying to resonate with, speak the language of that community, drop little cues that they can really connect with you on a deeper level. And then when it comes to the brand deals, you know, it's interesting. Like I see some creators that create really funny content. It's really controversial, but then brands are afraid to work with them, right? So I think you have to be careful to what story you're telling and making sure that brands would actually want to back you and put money behind that. And once you're very clear on who your community is, what you represent, what your story is, then you can sell that into a brand and really align with the brand goals as well. So, yeah.
May I add to that a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think it's also very important that we share, because I know we already agree without even you know what I'm about to say. I already know. So first of all, everything that you said was amazing. Amazing. And I hope you all were taking notes, because as you grow and when you get to the point where you're looking to attract brands, don't get caught up in the numbers. Focus on consistency and the quality of what you're putting out. And on our side, like I said, we're able to work with artists that have 2 subscribers on YouTube. As long as we understand what they're putting out and we understand that they know how to utilize the tool that is YouTube, they're active on YouTube Shorts and just trying it. Sometimes you just gotta throw the spaghetti on the cabinet and see what sticks and pivot and do that over and over. But don't get caught up in the numbers, because half the time you'll still get that brand deal because what you have to share in your content is consistent and polished. And I know, Julie, you can definitely relate to that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Once your content is, stick to what is authentic to you, and the brand will find you. Yeah. The brand that aligns to what you have to put out. So don't try to put this to get this brand or put that to get that brand. Just stick to what is authentically you, and then the brand that is right for you will pay you cash money to put out stuff for them, because they believe in you. It's a symbiotic relationship. You are benefiting from them, they are benefiting from you, and you are both growing together. So when I take on a brand, I'm looking for a relationship that can last at least 5-6 years, because I'm looking to grow the brand as they grow me also.
Yeah, so a lot of what they're talking about is really grounded in this notion of building audience, right? Building audience, building audience. How many of you, when you're in the studio recording your song, is thinking about the audience that it's going to reach? Okay. And how many of you are just creating for the sake of creating? So he raises his hand, sorry.
That's real. That's real.
That's real.
It's like that.
So there's no right and wrong answer, but just know that when you are trying to release that music and you're trying to grow your career, the audience and how you attract that audience and how you keep that audience is going to be key, right? So all these benefits can happen and can take place. You can get brand deals and get booked on the big festivals and all that because you have a following, right? But the problem is how do you do that consistently? And how do you make sure that every step that you take, whether you're putting out a record, putting out an album, whatever it is consistent with the story that you are trying to tell, the story that you're trying to convey, right? So brand.
No, let me close the loop on this because I think what everybody said was important. When you create that emotional connection and brands are coming after you, last thing, please, God, do not just get with a brand for the money because your audience is going to know that you're faking it and you could actually lose audience that way. So when you're partnering with a brand, make sure it fits in with what you actually want to do and fits in with the audience that you've already created because you don't want to lose them, just because you get a quick check from somebody.
Can I add to that too? It's about knowing your value and adding tags, right? So and I love what you said about like, it's not all about the numbers. It's really about your voice and your community. So the brand has their voice and the products that they're trying to push to certain communities. That's why they tap in with different creators who are leaders in those communities. So it's really not about, yes, it's about data and numbers sometimes, but it's really about your voice and what you can add and bringing that flavor to the brand. So don't forget your value, for sure.
Right.
And with that, I must add, sometimes you really have to ask the hard questions and make sure that that brand does not only align with your content, but they're also equally yoked in wanting to promote you the same way that they want you to promote them. Don't sell out for a check. I do content creation on the side, so I get inquiries a lot, and I always ask, okay, is this a co-promoted post? Are you going to put ad money behind this post? How is this gonna live in perpetuity? What does that look like for me? And I turn things down left and right because they don't or they're not willing to promote me. And I think that that's very, very essential for your growth and then, holding on to your authenticity.
Facts.
Also, one sentence, read your contracts.
Yeah.
And then, I'm just, no.
And then,
No, so one of the things that we really wanted to do on this panel is really make sure that we turn it back, turn the topic back to you guys, right? We want to make sure that the artists understand that being an artist is not it is multidimensional. It's not one thing that you're thinking about all the time, but your storytelling, your brand identity, your brand story must lead everything that you do. Right? Like what they were just explaining is like, you can't jump around and say one day you're a conscious artist and then the next day you're on some broke out, skin out thing and then the next day you're doing something else, right? Like that will confuse the audience. It will confuse who you are, right? Like one thing Shaggy, I think is a good example, did really well. Like from the first time I heard Shaggy, I kind of knew what he was, right? I could buy into what he was saying. When the Mr. Lover Lover thing happened, right? Like when that tagline, that sort of call out in the record happened, it kind of, again, gave you a sense of who Shaggy was. His storytelling was very consistent, right? So as an artist, don't jump on the trends because a DJ is experiencing success in this area and he's doing it that way. So we jump and we do that. And then somebody else busts next week and we jump and we do that, right? Like, so be very clear about what it is that you are doing. Anyway, so we talked about short form content a little bit, and we're going to speed through because we don't have a lot of time. But there are other ways to tell stories, right? Bigger, sort of more involved methods. And the barrier of entry might be a little bit higher for those things, right? So we're talking now about TV shows, documentaries, maybe something a little bit more long form, right? So I'm just going to give a quick example, and then I kind of want you guys to jump in on this. So 300 is under Warner Music Group. When Megan Thee Stallion blew up and did everything that she did on social media and then graduated to hit records and all of that, the next evolution for her was storytelling. Everyone was calling saying, we want her in a movie, we want her in a TV show, we need guest appearances, right? And all of that was happening. People were sending in offers and management is looking at the offers and they're trying to figure it out. But nobody spoke to her, right? Like she was like, yeah, that's cool, but I want to direct horror films. Right? And we were like, oh, okay. Right? We're going to try to figure that out, right? So part of your evolution as an artist is now you're starting in music. You're in the studio, the recording studio, you're recording, you're writing songs. That's one methodology of how to tell stories. But you're going to grow. As you grow in your career, you're going to grow and you're going to want to tell more sophisticated stories. Right? And so I want to talk about when an artist gets to that stage where they're like, yo, I'm popping, I've done all of that, I'm tired of releasing these songs, I want to tell more sophisticated stories. How can we start that, right? I'm going to start with you. Britt, you.
Me?
Yeah. So meaning like, what should be the next step now that I want to get into this longer form content? I'm asking you because of the whole brand connection thing that you do, right? Like, what should that process look like?
Well, I'm going to take this answer a little bit different direction. So
As you can.
I think we have to think about content holistically and how it all fits together, right? Like when you think about creating content, think about how you consume the content. Think about when you wake up in the morning, what you're checking versus in the middle of the day versus at night. And what type of content you're interacting with on the different platforms, because that can help inform what you're actually creating. And I think people forget sometimes, like the short form content is to help drive to the long form content. So you really want to think about like, okay, I'm creating these quick videos, but what's the end goal? Do I have a YouTube channel that I'm driving people to? Am I driving them to my blog on my website? Again, it just all goes back to like being strategic and really understanding what's your goal and what you're trying to drive to. My point on that is like leverage the short form content to actually drive to the longer form content.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Sure, I can chime in from an artist roadmap perspective because I have so many.
And you worked at Rock Nation, didn't you?
I did.
Uh-huh.
I did.
So come on.
Yeah,
break
I
it
was
down.
on the A&R side, so it was storytelling through music in that
Right.
case. But I believe that as an artist, you have to allow your audience and the taste and their behaviors to guide you. Case in point, if you look at Moneybagg Yo, you go to his earliest videos on his YouTube channel, and you'll see him bopping around in the hood. But now, when we fast forward to date, you'll see him doing videos with his family, running around. You see like a more family-friendly and palatable side of him. And he got there through listening to his audience. So, and I think another question you had was like, how do you know when it's time? Yes, I think you'll know. You know, when you'll have a growing pain, you get uncomfortable doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And the moment that you feel like there's content redundancy, that's when it's time to push your creativity and try something new in tandem with what your audience is asking you for. Because like I was saying with the Moneybagg Yo example, his audience grew. He started traveling more, going overseas, doing all these things, reaching so many different demographics of people, and it required him to change.
Right.
So as you grow and as your career differentiates, it's time to pivot the content with it as well.
Absolutely. Is Jay Will here? You guys know who Jay Will is? So Jay was supposed to be on this panel, and one of the reasons why we wanted him on the panel is because he is incredible at telling stories, Jamaican stories, right? Take your record and translate it into what it should look and feel like. And so, Julie, you seem to be doing everything yourself. I don't know. Are you directing yourself, writing yourself? Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what sort of support do you need to tell these stories on the level that you're telling them?
I mean, so I write the scripts myself. Of course, most of you know I do all the characters myself. That's not my choice. It's because I'm literally in my living room, and so I'm just doing that, and it's fun. And I edit myself because I'm very particular and anal about the way that I edit stuff. Like if I want to zoom in on the left eye and it squint at the 30 seconds within the video, I need that, and nobody else will necessarily know that unless they've worked with me for a while. And those are the things that make the video literally pop and make people, just a simple thing as putting the Hannah Kimbo or, just zooming in on those little things that are extremely powerful. So I do all of that, and that process for me, it's something that I enjoy. It can be tiring, but it is something that I have to do. And I wanted to add about the content evolution. What you really have to do is to begin with the end in mind. What is your self-actualization? What do you want to accomplish in this life? Everybody has something. What is their why? What's their self-actualization? And what will happen is that the answers will come to you, even if your content starts to become redundant, as you said, or you have this growing pain. That is you telling yourself that you need to move on. And I don't want you to confuse evolution with a drastic change, because you were saying you can't start out on the left and now suddenly you end up on the right. I mean, people have done it and they've been successful at it. Not trying to put you in a box or anything, but it's always good to grow and evolve in a way that it allows you to expand rather than create too much contrast and you lose followers and then you end up being confused, right? So in your growth and in your evolution process, just make sure that you understand where you want to be. And as artists, the good thing is that we are never, ever limited, because we can do performing arts, We can do dance, we can do acting, and we can do singing. So what if you start to do skits and you want to go into music, venture into that as well? You know, so there are many, many different ways for you to keep your content evolving and to keep growing. And if you don't evolve, you die. Even if you're alive, if you're not growing, if you're not expanding, you're dying.
Can we give it up for that?
Give it up for that.
Right, so Shaggy was talking about hybrid. Don't be afraid of the hybrid, right? And as you're building your audience, as you are using all these tools, you're getting into storytelling, it's becoming more sophisticated for you. You now have to incorporate all these things if you're gonna really support and really gain the support from a larger audience. And so, Brandon, it's interesting that at this stage of your career, you're doing big shit, right? You're producing big concerts and all of that. Why now? Like, why do you think it's important now for you to start this content delivery platform?
Because artists have a ton of ideas, and if you're not Beyonce or Lady Gaga or whomever, you're not going to get the looks from a Netflix. You're not going to get the looks from a Hulu. So it's important to aggregate that content somewhere for all artists. But hold on, I want to go back because everybody makes these great points. The music comes first. Make sure you have good music. I know we're talking about content and the evolution of content, but if the music is not good, we're not going to check you for your content.
Brandon. Say it
Just
again.
really quick. That was just, I feel like we lost track about artists being artists for 2 seconds. But, for me, it's how do we create a platform for artists to give their unfiltered visions, even when you're, pitching to networks or pitching to other sort of content partners. There are usually a lot of notes, like, well, change this, change that, and that takes away from the authenticity of the artist. So that's why it was important for me to create Apex, watchapex.com, launching at the end of the month. But that's why it was important for me to do that, and it's important for artists to have an outlet, to be able to be themselves and, have great content somewhere.
Right, and just one quick point I want to make. When we think about the music industry, right, overall earnings or revenue generation or revenue potential of the music industry, as we know it, the recording industry, is probably around 18 billion. Is anybody in the room that could, JR, is that right? Around 17, 18 billion dollars the recorded industry is worth? Right. Last year alone. That was last year alone. Let's switch to the content part of it, the production, TV, film, licensing, all of that, 90 billion. Whoa. Right? So let that be your guide a little bit as you're building your businesses, right? Because I don't see y'all as artists. I see y'all as like small companies building. And you're selling product, which happens right now at this stage of your company. You're selling songs. But your company will grow and you're going to want to sell TV shows. You're going to want to sell other things. And the content space, right, the evolution of content is a great way to a great place to try to grow into. So,
and Nolan, to touch on that, if you're thinking of yourselves, you're small companies, you're the CEO of that company. So
Absolutely.
make sure that the team around you is strong enough and understands your vision so that you can grow and scale as that company as well.
So Willa, we only
I
got
want to
3
add
minutes
to
left.
Yeah. I think all of us got something to say about that one. Go ahead. That was good.
As you talk about small companies, people register your company. All right.
I was going to add to Brandon's point about the LeBron approach. LeBron James is not only a stellar basketball player who just, superseded and surpassed the scoring record in the NBA. But the thing that I admire about him most, about him being a boss and a CEO, is that he empowered the people around him. He empowered everybody that he grew up with. He kept everybody tight and said, hey, okay, you don't know this, you're gonna go to school and be an agent. You wanna learn this? All right, I'm gonna put you with this person and you need to be a marketer. So don't be afraid to delegate to those around you. Like Brandon was saying, look around you, but don't just sit in the middle and just expect everybody to know what to do. You still have to give guidance and share exactly what you need, and it's okay for it to be a journey. Everybody's not gonna come ready-made. The same way you don't know what song you're gonna record every day, who's supposed to be your PR or your marketer or your manager might not know how to connect the dots all the time. So give grace, because a lot of times, y'all artists be divas now, okay? So give your team grace and just know that you're on a journey together, and every day you all should be learning and applying and repeating processes together to get better as a team.
Give it up for that. We don't have a lot of time. Like, they're literally counting us down on this little clock right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up to the floor real quick for questions. Can you guys help me out a little bit? Okay. Sir in the blue, do you want to? School him, Shaggy. School him.
Turn the mic on,
Can we turn the
sir.
mic on for him, please?
Hi, my name is Chris.
How you doing, Chris?
Daring. Daring.
Stop heckling Chris. Chris, go ahead,
Chris
brother.
Daring, thank you very much. When I saw the topic content evolution, my first inclination was, okay, what is the evolution in technology that we also, as artists, as content creators, should be looking forward to? And how do we prepare ourselves? Just like artists would have, if they had the inclination of when cassette tapes was moving to CDs, was moving to streaming and so on, you could prepare yourself. So we have Meta, we have YouTube, and other people who are now investing in streaming services. I haven't heard the term metaverse mentioned. I haven't heard the term VR. I haven't heard the term AR. What's next? What's next that's coming for these guys? What does Julie have to look forward to? And how should she be thinking about even her own production facilities and production outlook for what is the next?
It's a long question, Chris.
Great question.
Well, go ahead.
We were having this
But a good one. Long but good.
No, great question. We were having this conversation earlier. So I think one of the beautiful things about right now is that, especially being artists and musicians, is that we're in a time where everything is sound on. So think about 3-5 years ago, when you were interacting with social media, it was mostly sound off. You were
sound on your phone was actually...
actually the sound was off, and you were just scrolling, looking at pictures, looking at, mostly photos. But it has evolved to video, and now things are sound first. Think about when you're creating a video, like a reel, right? You start with the sound sometimes, and so it's a great space for us to be in now. And when we think about the evolution of where it's going to go from short form video, is going to transform into more immersive experiences. So we're thinking of AR, we're thinking of Web3. So that's when you put, AR and VR. So Web3 is like you actually put on a headset and you're immersed in this experience, and sound is a huge part of that. So as artists, you guys should be partnering with Web3 developers, with AR developers, and I think that's a area of opportunity for the Caribbean is AR, because AR is 5 years ago, right? But we're just now, sort of getting into that here, and Web3 is really the future. So I would highly recommend as artists partnering with people who are already doing that stuff. I mean, you can go on YouTube and learn what is Web3, how are people making this. You can download some of the apps and start to play and learn. But it's really, like you said, it's all about testing and learning. Nobody knows exactly what's going to work. And honestly, what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. So you really have to be in these experiences, playing around with them, trying new things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and listening to your audience, because they're going to give you the feedback to understand what to do. So AR is augmented reality. Great question. AR is augmented reality. So if you go on Instagram and you use a filter, right? You can apply something to your face. You can apply something to your world. There's world AR, right? So you can have something appear over our heads, or you can put on makeup. You can put stuff on your hand. So that's where you're still seeing the world, but there's stuff layered on top of it. Now, VR is virtual reality. That's when you're actually stepping into a new world. You don't actually see this world. You have on a headset, and you're in a completely different world. So they're connected but different.
And real quick, Nolan, pragmatically speaking, think about AR if you're an artist and, I'm downloading your app or whatever, and you put an address down. I go to that address, and now I can look at the debut of your new music video or see an exclusive concert from you as one of your, super fans. There are ways to use a lot of these new technologies, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, and the evolution of content, there's so many directions we could go in. We only had an hour, so we wanted to kind of start with storytelling, seeing yourselves as storytellers first, because there's different levels of storytelling that you could do. But the technology part is huge, right? Chris is probably asking, because Chris is in a delivery. Are you still doing the delivery thing? Right? There's technology changing for everything, for the creation of the content to how the content is delivered to you, to how you experience it. So again, we keep hearing this overall message about being in the industry isn't just one thing. It's not just being in front of the microphone. right? There's so many opportunities on the content development side that you guys
Can
would
I add
be-
one thing
yes,
too?
absolutely.
Just to as an example. So right now we're in the space, well, 5 years ago we're in the space where people were watching music videos on the TV, right? So you see your living room, you see the TV, and then it's the artist and the music video in there. But now we're getting into space where you can actually be in the music video, right? You can be in the music video. They can be in the music video with me. I can look over there and be like, yo, what's up? So it's really about immersive experiences and giving people the opportunity to connect in a deeper way, not just watching you, but being a part of the experience.
Absolutely. Any other questions? JR.
I don't have a mic, but JR, there's a beautiful friend that I've been using. I introduced Shaggy to it called ChatGPT.
Yep.
Which is all our friends.
AI.
I have been able to use her, I call her, as my assistant to create, I wrote an article one time, compare the careers of Shaggy and Sean Paul. And it gave me 1,000 words of real data. I didn't put anything in it other than what I
It's artificial intelligence, right? These apps are now surfacing, so you can literally download them.
Google just created one that is competing, but I'm still using my friend. Can you just share, especially with Meta, how Meta plans to compete with ChatGPT, and what can we use it for, in your opinion, to create new content?
I can't speak to that specifically, what Meta is planning to do, but I know Meta is very invested in AI, so artificial intelligence, and essentially that's where you're gathering data to understand different subjects. So that's what that's doing. But stay tuned, and you'll see.
She could tell you, but she's gonna have to kill you after. So he brings up a good point real quick though. If you guys can start to investigate that, it makes your content game, even on a short form level, when you have to do the posts and all that kind of stuff, it helps with all of that. So I'm sorry, the young lady with the cool hair. Yes.
Thank you. Raka Robinson, PBCJ, Two-Prong Approach, Juliet, and Rachel. Julie, storytelling is an art form, but it's also niche. Everybody wants to be the next Julie Mango, not a common mango. How can people... Thank you.
Mango gang.
How can people now know, especially in a field like comedy where it can be risky, how can they know, okay, this is for me and I just need to create more videos that are true to me and build a platform and people gravitate, or this is...
Hold on, when you said, start after you said come on mango, because I got distracted. And bring the mic a little closer.
Put the mic closer.
Okay,
it
is
could
this
be in your
better?
voice. All right.
All right. So comedy especially is a risky arena. How can people know that, okay, this genuinely isn't working versus I need to work at this more and build an audience?
I mean, there's an inner knowing that comes with when you're creating content. And if you feel like it's genuinely not working for you, then it probably isn't. You can tell when it is just you, when you just need to work at it some more rather than it just not working out. No, that is the inner knowing. You have external people. Some of you have friends. If, for example, if people will recognize your natural gift before you do. So if once you're growing up, persons would say, you're naturally good at this, you should be a politician, you're good at reading, you should write books. For me, I always heard, you always make people laugh, you should go into acting. Once you start doing something and once persons around you can confirm, because when the Spirit tells you something, not only does the Spirit tell you, but it also tells other people around you to confirm the same knowledge around you. When I say Spirit, I don't mean dopey. As me say, I'm a Christian, so when I talk it, I refer to Holy Spirit. Don't mind me. It don't mean to me I judge. It don't mean to me I judge nobody. I just talk all my thing go. See? So when you get an inclination in your heart, people around you will confirm it, and that's how you know that you just need to try at it. If your first video flop, you just need to try at it. If it is not working, people around you will tell you. We always have this thing where, this is what nobody wants to say about me, I just do my thing. I don't really subscribe to that because no man is an island and people are around you to uplift you and to help you and to guide you along your journey. I hope I answered your question.
Anyone else? Yeah. Where are we? We got two microphones. All right, can we go with the young lady first and then we'll go to this gentleman right here?
Hi, greetings. My name is Moon. I am a multidisciplinary creative, but I'm a musician first and foremost. And some of the things that other people were asking touched on things that I have found challenging, especially regarding what we now call content creation, which I sometimes feel is kind of insulting to artists. But I get it, because it's broader. And I want to know, I guess, where the space is for those of us who are neurodivergent within all of these different reality things and the pressures we are experiencing to always have sound on, to always have a bombardment, what feels like a bombardment to me, of light and sound. So I'm a musician, I do things that involve sound, but my phone is always on silent. I watch videos on silent primarily because of how overwhelming it can be sometimes. But I still want to create content that people are interested in. So it's about finding balance between things that are authentic and also still fitting with the times. So what kind of advice do you have? Because I know other people who struggle with the same thing I do.
So are you asking about being on all the time, the pressures of being on all the time?
I know,
How do you
yeah,
battle
and
that?
like
What
how
she's
do you
asking.
how do you fit in there and how do you find your niche? Because I will have a week where I'm putting up videos and I'm getting reception, and then I have 2 weeks I can't touch my phone. Don't want to see Instagram, don't want to be on TikTok, and it's like if you don't post for 2 days, they forget you.
Got it.
So
Rachel?
That's very on brand for the artist community. There are so many artists out there that are successful that feel the exact same way as you. We call it content burnout. It's very real, and it rings true to the artist community at large. So don't think that you're divergent or you're by yourself, because you're on an island with
I
many
know I'm not the only
that
one,
feel
so.
that way. Exactly. So I would challenge you to ask yourself, what would not feel like work to you when it comes down to your content? Is it you drawing? Because you said you're multidisciplinary, so I'm just jumping out here. Yeah. Is it when you draw? Is it when you paint? Is it when you sing? You take that answer and then you flip that into what your content type is. If you feel that putting your phone down with the camera at the ceiling while you're singing in the shower makes sense for you and you want to share that, share that. If you don't even want to be in the forefront and you just want to put out a visualizer that goes along with your music that you want to share that. It's okay. And then because you authentically get burnt out or you really don't like being in the forefront, that's a subject that you can talk about. You can educate other artists about that. Because you answered 2 of your own questions while you were talking to us. And I was like, she doesn't even know that this is a content type. Because there are weeks where you don't want to look at the blue light from your phone. You don't want the radiation from your phone. You want to be present. You can speak on that. Yeah. And that's something that other artists can learn from and other people need to also hear.
Because like even with YouTube, I have a channel, I've had a channel for years, and I see growth, and then it's like if I don't post for a couple of weeks, you start losing followers, you start losing all these things, and then you post something and nobody's there anymore. So there's a lot of stress, and even with Julie, I know you make like a 1-minute video, and how long does that video take? All of these things, like where do you find the time to be up to the times?
I mean, I just wanted to just add what discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Not every day you're going to be.
Say that again. Say that again. Say it again.
Right? Discipline. That is what will get you to wake up in the morning. So and then you have to deal with it with a structure. Not because we're freelancing. Don't let the term freelance fool you. You're still working either a 9 to 5 or a 12 to 5 as a freelancer. So you have to have structure in your content creation. So even on the days when you don't feel like it, you have to think, okay, this is actually what I do for a living, and I have to have discipline, I have to have structure. And there's a time and place for everything. So when you do feel like taking a break, structure in your break also. And I always say this to content creators, whenever you put out content, virtue comes out of you. So when you put out something, when you put out that YouTube video and someone in Czechoslovakia takes out the video and watches it and they have an emotional reaction or emotional connection to that video, that virtue comes out of you because you created it. And that's why as content creators, we get tired easily. And once we recognize that we are tired, we can now structure in a break time, a time to replenish, a time to just relax, a time to focus on yourself. And then when you come back now, you get more content and you keep going. It's a cycle that it's a time for everything. You have to relax, you have to work hard, you have to look at the comments, you have to create, you have to structure your time so that you don't feel burned out or overwhelmed.
That's a good one. Give it up. I think we only got time for one more. One more. The gentleman over here.
Greetings, IMC. Greetings to the
Hello.
panel. Yeah, man. Wisdom, otherwise known as Jawez, singer-songwriter, performing artist, and more recently, since COVID, video editor, right?
Big up.
So my question is, are there any, between the collective experience of everyone on the panel, are there certain presentation ideals that you can recommend, just basic ideals that you can recommend for us creating content, lay persons like myself, who didn't go to school for video editing, but we do it. Presentation ideals that make sure that we can maximize on the content that we're putting up. For argument's sake, formatting, whether there's a right color or a wrong color to appear in, or things that, I mean, also, I hear the president wears a certain color tie, or
So
when
you need some. You're asking for some hacks. Like how do you hack? How do you speed up the process?
Yeah. So we talked about this earlier too. Thank you for asking that question, because I wanted to hit on this. Just like really quick best practices for Instagram. So someone said this yesterday about our attention span being very short. You have to hook people in 3 seconds on Instagram. If you're not interested, if I'm not interested in 3 seconds, I'm scrolling past your video. So 3 seconds, make the hook, make your main message appear and your brand appear in the first 3 seconds. Secondly, I know I said that it's a sound on environment, we're moving towards that, but just like this young lady said, sometimes we get tired of the sound, so design for sound off, meaning if I watch your video with sound off, do I still know what you're saying, what you're trying to communicate? So leverage, captions or text overlays, that kind of stuff. And yeah, just make sure like your main message and your brand is up front. Include a call to action. What do you want people to do? Do you want people to follow you? Do you want people to go to your website? So guide people in that way. And then finally, I just highly recommend leaning into like a Reels first sort of approach. So when you're creating content, start with Reels. Think about the language of Reels, the trends that people are leaning into and care about. But as you mentioned, Julie, like if you're not a dancer, don't dance. Speak to what you know and connect with your community in an authentic way.
And offline, I'll talk to you about some apps and things like that you could use that can fast
Download
track all that
InShot.
stuff, right?
And I have a question as well.
InShot is a big one.
So
And I have a question as
we have
well.
to wrap. We're literally getting the wrap it up sign over
I
here.
have one more question over here. Hi.
So you just gonna force your way in? All right,
He's
go ahead. Go
bucking.
ahead.
You gotta shoot your
I'm here
shot.
for it. I'm here for it. Go.
Miss Sharon, can we do this?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right, so my name is QSO Global.
She
I'm
said
an
no.
artist from Florida, and I got a question both for Rachel and Britt, from YouTube and Meta. What would be the best strategy or advice you can, give to somebody who, is a creator, basically trying to build and establish their brand? You want people that when they look at you, they resonate with you, they connect with you. For me, when I'm not releasing music, I'll have videos of me in the studio or behind the scenes of, music videos so people can feel connected, you know what I mean? And see what is it like, what are you doing, and how does, what makes you want to do this and hold something.
So guys, we're gonna answer this offline because again,
No, you can go ahead and
Auntie's
answer.
about to shut us down.
You can-
I told you she said
I'm
no.
just standing here.
Oh, well, you came out like you were in a threatening motion.
I thought it was a school bell.
Right.
You're about to
Sorry,
ring
Mom.
a school
Next
bell.
day, so we were not.
Time up.
All right,
were
let's
trying to
go.
follow
I'm
the
ready. I'm ready for the question. I'm ready for the
You
answer.
can
though.
answer. Go ahead and answer.
Okay, so first I'd say you need to be very clear about what you want people to pick up based on what you're putting down.
Okay.
Write out, list your key takeaways, list what you want to be known for, and from there you plan your content around that. Also, approach your social media, your YouTube channel, website, Linktree, wherever you exist on the internet as a portfolio. It needs to be insight on what people see, but also just how you want people to register or resonate with what you're sharing.
Yeah, and just to add to that, there's not one formula. It's all about testing and learning. So what we're talking about AI and artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
what the algorithm is really good at doing is finding the right person at the right time. So if you can create different types of content, it'll serve that content to the right people. You don't have to worry about that. you focus on making different types of content. When I say that, I mean like put out still images, put out short form video, put out longer video, put out different types of media that different people can connect with, and let the algorithm do its job to find the right people.
And listen to
Thank
your audience.
you
They'll
so
tell you it's
much.
whack. They'll tell you.
Thank you so
Guys,
much.
wait, hang on. Don't
Thank
go anywhere.
you,
Stand up,
thank
guys.
you.
First of all, thank you so much. We
Round
wish
of-
we had more time to like really do the breakout, but the masterclass next year. Masterclass next year. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.